Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show on National Sports On Air. We've got a great show on tap for you today. We really appreciate all the contributions on this show. We've had so many listeners, so many plays, and we barely started out. Thank you so much to all of you listening, and thank you for listening to me right now. I really appreciate it here on the Cameron Sadeghi Show. We got a lot to talk about, as I've said. In regards to the New York Jets, we're going to have Rob Carpenter, former New York Jets and Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver. We're going to talk about a possible Colts trade, Jim Irsay communicating it out to the Twitter sphere. We'll talk about Lance Armstrong and one of the most surprising developments in sports history. And we'll talk about something that's been not in the limelight, but something that's hidden within news websites. We'll talk about the Sacramento Kings. Yes, we don't talk about the Sacramento Kings that much. Actually, this is the first time we've ever brought them on Spreaker.com. But we'll talk about them possibly relocating. We'll get you that news too. But first, we're talking about that guy again. Tim Tebow and the New York Jets. We're going to talk about that with Rob Carpenter in just a few moments here today. Rob is going to tell us what he thinks of this season preview, but something that really surprised me, one of the former New York Jets players, Boomer Esiason, also an analyst for CBS Sports, NFL Today's pregame show, and Westwood One Dial Global Radio Network's extraordinaire analyst, play-by-play commentator on the radio. We have Boomer Esiason. He came out, and Boomer says that Tim Tebow should be cut as a New York Jet. And Tim Tebow was brought on WFAN, which Boomer Esiason hosts a show with Craig Carton on Carton and his on that show on WFAN. He appeared on Tuesday. Actually, not on Tuesday, but he did appear on the show, and Esiason said, "Not everything I've said about you is negative. I would be honored for him to be my son-in-law, but I gotta tell you, I really appreciate you coming here today." Tebow said, "Thank you, my pleasure," and it got into a love fest. And then, look, I'm just gonna come out here and say this. Some of you are wondering, well, what happened? Basically, Boomer said that Tebow should be cut. Tebow, Tebow, he said, "Okay, so it's alright, dude." Esiason said, "I don't like the way he throws, he's a distraction," all that. And you know what bothers me? Is that John Fox said the exact same thing to Tim Tebow. John Fox, whether you like Tim Tebow or not, you gotta be respectful in a way. John Fox, John Elway, not John Fox. John Elway said last year, when regards to Tim Tebow, the only positive thing he said about Tim Tebow is that he's a great competitor, and I would love for my daughter to marry him. What is that? He contributed so much for your team in the most unconventional way, and you're gonna just give him that point blank? I think that's somewhat disrespectful on his part. Say what you want about his awful mechanics, and I've come out here and said I totally agree with you. He does have awful mechanics. But you can't go out there and disrespect the man in that manner. It's mind-boggling. It befuddles me. It makes me think, what's going on out here? So, Tim and all these pundits going out ripping him, and then when he comes on the show, they play cover. They play protective. If you don't like Tim Tebow, say you don't like it. Say you don't like Tim Tebow. Go out there and say it. Boomer kind of shying away a little bit, ducking a little bit. Come on. If you're going to go out there and say he has terrible mechanics, tell him he's got terrible mechanics. Say, I'm sorry, I just don't think your mechanics are up to par. Instead, it turns into a love fest. It's talking behind your back. I don't like this coverage. I don't like the way it's been going. And we'll talk about this whole situation with Rob Carpenter in about 5 minutes. And it's really agitating me. I've gotten to a point where I wonder whether or not anyone cares about Tim Tebow. Now, is he a good starting quarterback? No, he's mediocre. I think his mechanics are horrible, instincts are amazing, toughness is amazing, leadership is off the charts, but it all balances out to mediocrity. I've said that a million times, and I've said it for my millionth second time today. So, don't go out there and just say he's the worst quarterback in the NFL, because he's not. I've seen way worse quarterbacks, and there are still worse quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay? Byron Leftwich has the equal mechanics of Tim Tebow, but is Byron Leftwich at this point as good as Tim Tebow? No. Is Charlie Batch as good as Tim Tebow? No. So, don't say Tim Tebow's the worst quarterback in the NFL. I've seen way worse. And I'm not saying Tim Tebow's the best, and I'm not saying he's the worst, and I'm not saying he's an above-average quarterback, and I'm not either saying he's a below-average quarterback. I think he's an average quarterback. Average. His head's barely above water, man. Barely above water. Puts up horrible statistics, but let me tell you, he keeps the game close, he doesn't turn the football over, and when it comes down to it, he makes some very big-time instinctive plays. Rolling to his left, drawing the two defenders, pitching it out to Demaryius Thomas against the Vikings. That was one of the most beautiful plays. Say what you want to say about Tim Tebow in that whole game, and how he misses a few throws here and there. When he scrambled to his left and drew those two linebackers to come, I believe, right at him, and then did that quick little throw to Demaryius Thomas, it was beautiful instinctive play. It was football common sense. Football 101 right there. So, Tim, I gotta give you credit for that. On the other hand, can't put up a complete game. Sorry, he doesn't put up a complete game. Sanchez is the total opposite. Sanchez he's been known for high turnovers, right? So you got two polar opposites battling it out, both mediocre. You got a defense that's aging, a running game that's below average, and that's a little overhyped, a head coach who's always in the spotlight for absolutely no reason in the largest media market in the whole entire U.S. So that, at the end of the day, it makes this team not a playoff team. I don't care if you have Tony Sperano over there. But when you can't avoid distractions, when you can't take out the noise, let's look at the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Houston Texans. Why are all those teams so great? They avoid the noise. Why are all those teams so great? You know why? Besides the football X and O's, they don't care what the media says. They don't get into that battle with the media. They focus on themselves. They focus on themselves. And that's the bottom line. When you focus on yourself and you don't shoot yourself in the foot late in games, you're obviously going to be a solid football team. New York Jets are doing the exact opposite, and watch. When week 1 rolls around, boy, they're going to get a big wake-up call, everybody. They're not going to be dancing around saying we're typical New York Jets football, ground and pound. They're going to get a huge wake-up call. Huge. And I believe it's a Sunday night game, if I'm sure. Let me see. No. Week 1 of the regular season is on CBS, I believe. And against the Buffalo Bills. When Julius Peppers is around that corner, watch out. Watch out. He's going to be coming hard, guys. This Bills team knows they're better than the New York Jets. Let me tell you, I've come out here and said the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots are superior to the New York Jets, rather. Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots are the class of the AFC East. So watch out for them. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Rob Carpenter discuss the Jets season preview. Stick with me on the Cameron Sadeghi Show. Alright, we are dialing Rob, and here today, we are waiting for him to come on. I'm not sure why he has not come on yet. I think we might have to get him through the phone instead of Skype. So we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna call Rob right now. Rob Carpenter, former New York Jets, former Eagles receiver, here today on the Cameron Sadeghi Show. So we're dialing for Rob. Hello, is it Rob Carpenter?
Yes, this is.
Alright, thank you, Rob, for coming on the show. I was talking about the New York Jets and saying that they won't make the playoffs this year, and I believe they're not a solid team to compete against. I don't think they are going to sweep the Buffalo Bills. I don't think they sweep New England. Where do you see this team? Do they even make the playoffs?
Well, at this moment, the way I see the team, they're going to struggle on offense. Defense looks just fine. It's going to be tough going through the AFC East. Buffalo looks like they've gotten a little better. Of course, the Patriots are going to be tough as well, as usual. Miami is going to look to struggle as well because they don't look to have too many playmakers on their teams other than Reggie Bush. But it's going to be tough. Initially, when I first looked at them, I thought they may have had a shot to make it into the playoffs, but without any offensive playmakers, they're going to struggle.
And I want to ask you this because you've been in an NFL locker room before, and you know team chemistry is probably one of the most underrated things in the aspects of sports. And I want to ask you, Rob, when you look at them and they're just struggling to avoid distractions and avoid the noise, from a bird's eye view, from where you're looking at it and what your experiences have been, do you see this whole saga continuing throughout? And do you see that the New York Jets, do you think they're ever going to escape this issue throughout this whole entire year?
I doubt it. But honestly, the players in the locker room are probably less concerned with it than everyone else. They already know what it is. They can only do with or play with what they have. It's not their decision to make the changes. It's not their decision to say who's going to play or not, who comes in, and who's leaving. So players really don't think about it as much as everyone else does. Because once you're in the locker room, you go do what you have to do. Pretty much they're going to be going out trying to win games like everyone else. But, it's really not a distraction to them other than the fact that they have to answer the questions from the media every day.
And I want to ask you this, Rob. The Jets, the QB issue's been huge. I mean, everyone's talking about it. ESPN's talking about 24/7, 365 days a year. I mean, Tebow is just talked about everywhere, and people say, oh, he doesn't have the mechanics. Oh, he's this way. Oh, he's that way. People say Sanchez turns the ball over too much. It seems like a big struggle at the quarterback position. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, or in the middle of the season, do you think Mark Sanchez will still be the starting quarterback, or do you think Tim Tebow takes that job?
If Mark doesn't get any help, it's going to be hard for him to keep the job. It's not too many people that were saying that 2 years ago, when he actually had people he can get the ball to who could make plays. 3 years ago, when he was a rookie. So, his first 2 years, they were in the AFC Championship game. Really didn't hear too much about him having these troubles. Offense is shaking up now.